710 ESPN.
Lakers talk is on.
That's it. Preseason is done.
It's Lakers Talk with Allen Sliwa.
When you're as heavy favorites as the Lakers are to go back-to-back this upcoming season, to grab championship number 18, everything's about the marathon, not the sprint.
From the home of the world champs at LA Live.
So the champs pick up where they left off.
This is Lakers Talk.
Here's Allen Sliwa.
What is going on, Laker fans? What is going on? Here we are. This is the eve of the start of the 2020-2021 season. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Just finished Lakers Talk over on 710. Now we get over here, do a little social action. Lakers taking on the Los Angeles Clippers tomorrow, so we got a lot to get into, Laker fans. So thank you for being a part of the show. By the way, just a quick little one. We'll plug this out here. Game starts tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We're going to start our pregame show at 5. Obviously, we'll get everything started in the morning at 5 a.m. with Keyshawn, J-Will, Zubin, and Travis. So we got a fun day coming up for the Los Angeles Lakers tomorrow. And, usually we do – so pregame's usually about hour and a half. But tomorrow we'll go a little bit longer because, obviously this is a special night. Lakers, it's a ring ceremony night. Lakers are going to get their championship rings. Clippers get to watch the Lakers get their championship rings. I mean, that's special. It's special in both ways. Okay, let's get started with the show. By the way, if you want to be a part of the show, feel free to comment on all of our platforms. I'll do my best to read off the comments. If I like your comment, I'll probably read it off. If I don't like your comment, I'll probably pretend like I never saw it. And, no harm done. No harm done over there, all right? Okay, so this is how I want to start the show. So, Lakers obviously favorites to win tomorrow against the Los Angeles Clippers. Lakers favorites to go back-to-back this upcoming year. I want to take Laker fans back for a quick second, okay? So, Kuzma, by the way, came on 710 ESPN. He came on Lakers Talk. So I was doing some research. All right, let me look back. When Kuzma got drafted, what did that roster look like for the Los Angeles Lakers? Just 3 years ago, give you an idea of what the Lakers roster looked like, okay? So I'm going to throw out some names here. Laker fans, I'm sure you remember some of these names, okay? Lonzo's on that contract or on that team, okay? Thomas Bryant. You guys remember Thomas Bryant? Another player that the Lakers drafted, okay? KCP, Alex Caruso, Luol Deng, still getting paid, by the way, Tyler Ennis, Channing Frye, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Brook Lopez, Julius Randle, Isaiah Thomas, Travis Ware, and Ivica Zubac. That was the roster 3 years ago, okay? I just need you guys to take a quick second and just think about that was the 2017-2018 roster for the Lakers. And now, here we're all sitting here, pretty much we'll all hallucinate if the Lakers don't go back-to-back. That's how much of a favorite they are to win this upcoming season. That's crazy to think about. I mean, that's crazy to think about. In this small window, back in those days, what's kind of funny is back in those days, there were a lot of Laker fans, myself included, where you're watching the draft lottery and you thought the world was about to end as you saw the lottery balls fall, right? That became a big night, was the lottery draft. And then, of course, on draft night, you were drafting number 2, you were drafting D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball. All 3 of those players were number 2 picks. You were grabbing guys like Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson. Those were the days for the Lakers for a number of years. And you kind of thought in your head, I remember 2017-2018 season, you thought in your head, man, this team can maybe make the playoffs in a couple years. Man, that player could potentially be an all-star 3, 4, 5 years from now. And the reality is, obviously some franchises, that's okay. But for the Lakers, that's not what you're accustomed to. And to think just 3 years ago, that was the roster for the Lakers. And now here we are talking about the Lakers with their depth and Anthony Davis and LeBron James and re-signing players and contract extensions and everything else. Man, it has kind of been a long way. I think what's actually interesting here. So I think this team has a chance to really kind of imprint itself in Lakers history. But let me kind of explain what I'm referring to there, okay? So arguably one of the greatest sports windows is what the Lakers were doing back in the 80s. All right? So Magic went to 9 NBA finals. Magic was in the league, I think, 12 years. He went to 9 NBA championships. He won 5 of them. He's 5-4 in the finals. That's a ridiculous run. Like, that's something that, obviously very, very difficult to ever be repeated. Or maybe you look at LeBron with some of his stage of his career going to the finals as many times as he did. But that's obviously that's the golden era of Lakers basketball. And you look at the history. You won 5 NBA championships in a span of 10 years or 12 years or whatever the case was. Then you have the Kobe Shaq era where you win 3 NBA championships, but you go to the finals 4 out of 5 years. That's an amazing era. I mean, you win back-to-back NBA championships. Then the following year, you lose to the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs. And then the next year, you make it back to the finals. You lose to the Pistons. And, anyone can make the claim that they want that the Lakers should have won more championships in the Kobe Shaq era. You can make all that claim. But you made it to 4 NBA finals in 5 years. You won 3 championships. That's an amazing moment in Lakers history. And then the last run that the Lakers had was Kobe and Powell. And we remember what that run was. That run was making it to the NBA Finals 3 years in a row and grabbing 2 NBA championships. And that's a window we're always going to remember because it adds 2 more to the Lakers, 17 NBA championships. And the reason why I say this could be one of those windows in Lakers history, and it starts tomorrow, it started last season, but it will start up again tomorrow. Lakers are favorites to go back to back. So if LeBron and Anthony Davis in their first 2 years together win back-to-back NBA championships, I mean, it really, really is. Not only do you tie the Boston Celtics and then you surpass the Boston Celtics, and it's these 2 players doing it in Lakers uniforms. I mean, it really, really will be considered one of the great, even though it's a shorter time frame, era of Lakers history. It will never be compared to the, Showtime era, never be compared to Kobe and Shaq because the duration was longer. But it would be amazing if, obviously these 2 can do it. And the reality is they're favored to do it. So it's not like I'm up here throwing Hail Marys. No, that's the expectation is that the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis go back to back. So favorites to win tomorrow against the Clippers, favorites to go back to back. Lakers are the heavy favorites. I was going through that lineup, the 2017, 2018. I'm like, Travis Ware. That was you remember that? The Tyler Ennis days. I know I could go prior to that, but just that was only 3 years ago. So that was kind of a trip to see. All right, let's see what Laker fans are saying here. Frank Alvarez says, and the last 3-peat in the NBA. Okay. Read off a couple more here. Lakers are going back to a lot of former Lakers. I'm seeing some Chris Mims out here. I'm seeing Kwame Browns. I'm seeing Socrates. Okay, I know the Lakers. I know you guys know your history. A couple fist bumps, by the way. A couple Laker fans want to get things going here. Get things going back again tomorrow, all right? Lakers and the Clippers tomorrow. Okay, let's move on. I do want to talk about Lakers and the Clippers, okay? Tip-off at 7, pregame at 5, all that other good stuff. We know about it. So Lakers will they'll get their rings tomorrow. So, we know 4 guys that won't be getting their rings tomorrow. Rondo won't get it until later in the season. Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, assuming Avery Bradley. So those 4 players will get it down the road. But Kuzma is going to get his first ring tomorrow. Anthony Davis is going to get his first ring tomorrow. Go down the list. Alex Caruso, KCP. So obviously Markieff Morris, Jared Dudley. So a lot of these players that were contributors, they're going to have this really cool window tomorrow where they get their NBA championship and LeBron can stack another chip in his championship drawer. It'll be his 4th one. But one of the things that Michael and I talked about, usually when you get your championship ring, there is a letdown on opening night, right? That's one of the conversations that it's common in sports. When you win a championship, you come out that next night or that night that you get your trophy or you get your championship ring, and maybe your head's not fully there on that game. You know, there's another grind of a season coming up. You're trying to just appreciate the moment and probably saying, we'll worry about this matchup later. Clippers got a lot of motivation to come out tomorrow ready to go. Can you blame them? I mean, not to take a shot at the Clippers, even though I've been known to take a couple shots at the Clippers. This is their first game since the collapse, at least their first regular season game, since the collapse against the Denver Nuggets and Nuggets Nation, where we were right here doing the post-game show. So the Clippers have obviously a lot of motivation tomorrow. They're going to be watching Laker players grab their championship rings, which they thought they would have a chance last season, and they didn't even get to the Western Conference Finals, so we didn't even get that far. So there's going to be a lot of kind of conversation about these two teams tomorrow. It's interesting. The last couple of weeks, I feel like there's a lot of, even somebody like Michael Thompson I do the pregame show with, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't think this Clippers team is as good as they were a year ago and think that those chemistry issues that they had before are still there. They still exist. So I'm not 100% sure, if we're just looking at tomorrow's game specifically. I think the Lakers, there might be some distractions because they're going to get their championship rings, but that might last a quarter and then that's it. I mean, I just got to imagine that LeBron will get the crew obviously ready. Remember, Montrezl Harrell, he's coming from the Clippers. Didn't feel like the Clippers wanted him. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Wesley Matthews and Dennis Schroeder have never won an NBA championship, so they're coming to the Lakers with obviously that type of mentality. So Lakers-Clippers tomorrow, I think it's going to be a fun matchup. Throw me some predictions. What do you guys think tomorrow? You think Lakers they're looking left and not paying too much attention to that opening night game, or you think the Lakers just kind of handle business and nothing to worry about? To be honest with you, from my perspective, I think the Lakers handle business tomorrow. I'm more unimpressed with the Clippers than I probably have ever been over the last year plus, and I've typically been the one pushing the Clippers resume like, no, this is a really good team. Look at their roster. This is a team you got to be worried about. But listen, I still think they're going to be a formidable opponent in the Western Conference, but I think the drop-off between the Lakers and the rest of the Western Conference, I do actually feel it's considerable. All right, Ari says Luke Kennard contract versus Montrezl Harrell contract. Yeah, how about those? We're going to get into contracts. Don't worry, I got in my rundown here. I've got Kyle Kuzma's contract, and then we're going to start talking about some of the other contracts around the NBA. Garrett Griffin says Ray Allen Sliwa. I would say that, I had a better jump shot than Ray Allen. So I don't like making that comparison. Like to even mention my name with Ray Allen is kind of a diss on me. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen my free throw percentage. All right, read off a couple more here. Ernie says, who's monitoring the channel? Don't worry about who's monitoring the channel. All right? Don't worry about it. All right. 24 for president on YouTube has Lakers 127-52 over the Clippers. Okay. So, you know what? Probably not going to ask for any more score predictions from Laker fans out there. I know where that's going to go. Okay. Jay Travelez, I'll read this last one off and we'll go from there. He says, we have enough players on the roster that won't get rings and are hungry, so no letdown for the Los Angeles Lakers. Gotta be honest with you guys. I'm excited about opening night. I really am. Going through the preseason was fun, and getting a chance to see Talen Horton-Tucker was awesome to kind of see him explode. Kuz had some really, really good preseason games as well. Anthony Davis in that last game, what do you have, 33? AD just bringing up the ball against the Phoenix Suns to end the third quarter, a step back 23-footer just to, call it a night, and then end his night in the third quarter against the Phoenix Suns. I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited about tomorrow's game. I'm excited to see the Lakers get their rings, and then I'm just excited to get the regular season started. And The depth of the Lakers is going to be ridiculous, and we're going to get a chance to start seeing it tomorrow against the Los Angeles Clippers. Okay, let's do some roll call. Where are you guys tuning in from? Laker fans, where are you guys tuning in from? Just a quick shout out. Let me know city that you're tuning in from. Might be somewhere out here in LA, might be somewhere in California, might be somewhere across the country or across the world. Give us your roll call of where you're tuning in from. By the way, you see it on the screen here. Follow us on all the platforms. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You see ESPN Los Angeles making it happen, so make sure to follow us. All right, quick couple shout-outs here. Lebanon, thank you for being a part of the show. By the way, somebody's pointing out Marcus Morris is out tomorrow. I'll talk about Marcus Morris when we're talking about some of these contracts, but yes, he is out tomorrow. Colorado Springs, thank you for being a part of the show. Jacksonville, Ohio, Vegas, Thousand Oaks, Hawaii, Alabama, thank you for being a part of the show. Redondo Beach, thank you for being a part of the show. Albuquerque, New Mexico, Ontario, North Hollywood. You got Laker fans everywhere. Everywhere. Thank you for being a part of the show. Somebody's on their third shift at UPS in Ohio. Thank you for being a part of the show, as always. Thailand, San Marcos, Indonesia, Cleveland. Somebody says they're down the street. All right. Thank you for being a part of the show. I keep telling us where you're tuned in from. I'll try and read these off throughout the show. San Diego, North Hollywood, Ladera, California, Hawaii, La Mirada, Camarillo, downtown Anaheim, Corona. All of you guys, appreciate you being a part of the show. Everybody, I got one Magic City. Everybody always throws in one Magic City. I get it. I understand it. Cameroon, Lagos, okay, Toronto, St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, I'll read more of these off as we go. Jamaica, thank you for being a part of the show. Kyle Kuzma's new contract with the Lakers. Okay, so let me go to that. So yesterday, I don't know if you guys remember on Friday, after I did the post-game show, then I did the post-game after the post-game on YouTube, and I told everybody on the post-game, I said, guys, listen, this weekend, don't bother me. I said, Saturday, Sunday, leave me alone. I'm off. We'll get back. We'll get going on Monday, right? I'm going to have the show, then I'm going to do this show, and then we start the season. And I'm just enjoying my, Sunday afternoon, minding my own business. Adrian Wojnarowski. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Covers the NBA. Throws out a Woj bomb. Kyle Kuzma. Reports say Kyle Kuzma signing a 3-year, $40 million extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. Highland Park, thank you for being a part of the show. Arkansas, somebody's in the bubble. Just FYI, the bubble's over. You can get out now. But thank you for staying in there. Corona, thank you for being a part of the show. Someone's in Paul George's basement. Okay. So the news comes out. Kuzma signs a 3-year, $40 million deal. My initial thoughts on Kuz. When I saw the deal, first of all, I was surprised. I was like, wait, what happened here? I didn't even know that this was a conversation or a discussion being had. And then as the dust settled, it's like, all right, let's really, really kind of think about this contract for Kyle Kuzma. Let's think about it from both sides. Let's think about it first for Kuz, and then we'll think about it from a Lakers perspective first or after. So you guys know the term, right? You guys know the term. In business, there's a term called a win-win. Both sides win. It just makes sense for both sides. And when I look at this deal for Kyle Kuzma specifically, all right, let's say Kuz wanted to wait until this upcoming offseason and see what kind of offers were on the table for Kuz. By the way, if he did that, it'd be fair. Because I don't think it's actually unrealistic for Kuz to go get a deal out there in the open market, and a team would come after him who has cap space, who has the ability to overpay, let's say, because if he overpays or if they overpay, they can't attract free agents to come in the offseason, whatever the case is. Like, this happens very often. And Kuz is at the age where he's only 25 years old. You can take a risk on Kuz. And where Kuz is just the role player here, he might get more of a role somewhere else, a bigger role somewhere else. That could have happened for Kuz. But this is why I think this is a good deal for Kuzma. 3 years, $40 million means Kuz is going to be making 13 plus a year. He has a player option in the final year that if he balls out for the next 2 years, he just makes it happen. And all of a sudden he looks at his contract and says, you know what, I'm not worth 13 million a year. I could go get 18, 19, 20 million in the open market. Then he can opt out of his deal and he can go get a bigger deal. But I think Kuz also understands this window that he's in. He's got a chance to win championships. He's got a chance over these next couple of years to play a role for the Los Angeles Lakers franchise, a brand that, by the way, probably helped him get his Puma deal that he has, and probably is helping him with other marketing deals that he's getting, where he understands this is one of the most popular franchises in the world. If Kyle Kuzma got drafted in Washington, do you think a lot of people would be talking about Kuzma right now? They probably wouldn't. If he got drafted by Charlotte, he probably wouldn't. So I think he also understands how important it is to be on this Lakers franchise. So when I say this is a good deal for Kyle Kuzma, Kuzma's not asked to go put out 25 points a game. Kuzma's asked to be a fifth, sixth best player on a championship team. He'll make $13 million a year for doing it. By the time his contract is done, he'll be 28 years old. And on top of all of that, he has a player option if he balls out, and he can go, get a bigger contract somewhere else. So my thoughts from Kuzma's perspective, it seems like a fair deal for also a player that has been inconsistent in this league. If I talk about Kuz one night getting 20 points and having 8 rebounds, I might not talk about Kuz again for a couple post-game shows. That's common with Kuz. And that's not me trying to criticize Kuz. That's the reality. Kuz has been there. There are times where Kuz, he has a night where everybody gets excited, and then you might not talk about him for a couple nights. So I think with all that considered, I think it's a good deal for Kuz. Let's talk about it from a Laker perspective. You just locked up Kuzma for 3 years. He's only 25 years old. He's got potential. It's a great asset to have on your team. And, if he does play well over the next year or 2 years, I think you got him I think that contract then becomes undervalued. So I think there are positives on both sides. I'm going to go back to this. I really genuinely think it's a win-win, and you guys can give me your thoughts on this. So what do you guys think of Kuz's contract? All right, SC11 says Kuz earned that contract. That's on YouTube. On Periscope, this is literally the handle, okay? Fire Clay Helton, Urban Meyer to USC. That's the handle there. We need this to be talked about more. Okay, I just talked about it. I broke it down. I can't break it down anymore. All right, let me read off a couple more of these. Melbourne, Australia, thank you for being a part of the show. All right, let's see what else we got here. Herman in California, Kuz deserves it. Great news. Okay, I'm gonna get into this one a little bit. Ernie, the day learner on YouTube, says that's an easy contract to move if needed. Look, I've been wrong on Kuz this whole time. So let me just kind of say this. I really have thought with Kuzma, I did think that because the Lakers were trying to win right now, that it wouldn't have been out of the ordinary to see the Lakers move a guy like Kuz to go get another veteran. That's common for championship teams when they're trying to win, and you got a window that you have right now. You can't do it with a Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson. Like, the Lakers shopped a lot of these young players. Kuz somehow has remained on this roster, and I don't want to say survived, because he has also accepted the role that the Lakers have asked him to play on this team. So I am kind of happy to see him get paid, and I think it's reasonable for both sides. So with that being said, I could see that, all the contracts, which I'm going to get into the Lakers contracts in a second, all of them I think are very, very reasonable contracts that are on the roster, which is good for the current and for the future. OC O'Neal on YouTube, Kuz might get 2 more rings. Could happen. Could happen. Okay, KO. This is a good one for KO on YouTube. What are your expectations for Kuz this year? Okay, Laker fans, listen to me very closely here. Okay? If there are distractions around the house, I want you to tell the family Sliwa's got a very important message. Okay? Tell everybody calm down for a quick second. We're doing this together. All right, it's not that important of a message. I want you guys to go back. ESPN app or on iTunes. Lakers Talk with Allen Sliwa. Kuz came on hour 1 of the 2-hour shows. You can go back to the podcast and go take a listen. So when I get somebody asking me, what are your expectations for Kuz this year? So I asked Kuz in that interview, I asked him specifically, what's most important for you this upcoming season of your own personal development? What is it that you want to get better at this upcoming year? And Kuz kept hitting on defense. He kept talking about how I want to get better defensively. I want to be a player that's known as a two-way player in the league. Anthony Davis yesterday on a Zoom call said that he's taken the challenge of guarding the other team's best player. He wants to guard Devin Booker. He wants to guard Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. He wants to take that challenge. So when you ask what your expectations are for this year, offense I don't pay that much attention to. Look, if you're getting open shots, hit your open shots. You got to hit your open shots. I think there are times, Kuz is hitting them. There's other times that he's not. But defensively for Kuz and grabbing rebounds for Kuz and seeing if you could get a steal or a block a game, like those little things are more important, I think, for Kuz as a role player than anything else. If he puts up 15 a night, 18 a night, that's great. It's icing on the cake. But can he get you 6, 7, 8 rebounds a game? Can he be an asset on defense, not a liability? That, I think, to me is most important. That's the expectations that I got for Kuz. All right, read off a couple more of these. Lakers got a great deal. Lauren S. says Kuz got ripped off. Okay. All right. Tell me how you really feel. Dan Inspiration. Very good point. Dan Inspiration says enough money for a lifetime of King Tacos. Never looked at it that way. So that's a great point. Thank you for adding to the show. I really appreciate it. Iowa, thank you for being a part of the show. All right, let's see what else we got here. Read off a couple more here, and then I want to go into these Laker contracts real quick. Okay, all right. Everything now is turning to King Taco, and okay. All right, let's keep going here. All right, last one. Jose on Periscope. Allows Kuz to grow as a player without the pressure of playing for his next contract. Absolutely. By the way, Kuz was very, in the conversation, just very, everything was about sacrificing. Like, I got to sacrifice. This is what the team needs me to do. So he was saying the right things. You want to hear those kind of things from Kuz. So, okay, I want to move on to the next one, which is Lakers contracts overall. So somebody already hit on this, and I've said it, right, that the contracts that the Lakers have, Lakers got a lot of good contracts. Like, listen to these contracts real quick, okay? Montrezl Harrell is making $9 million a year for 2 years. Montrezl Harrell was the 6th man of the year last year, and I keep using this term, he's a walking double-double. If he plays 25 minutes a game, he's going to have 10-plus rebounds and 10-plus points. Put it in the box score. That's what Montrezl Harrell is going to do. He's on a 2-year contract for $18-19 million. It is a player option for next year. Obviously, that's an incredibly reasonable contract for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder is on the final year of his contract. He's making $15 million. He's 27 years old. He was the runner-up for 6th man of the year last year. What is one of the things you guys hear all the time in sports? When do players perform their best? What's the term? In a contract year. It's a contract year for Dennis Schroeder. It's a big year for Dennis Schroeder. By the way, big year for Montrezl Harrell too, because this 2-year, $20 million, $19 million, whatever it is, he can opt out of this year. Those are very, very team advantageous contracts, okay? Now, those guys got to come in and perform, and they'll go earn a check, whether it's with the Lakers or somewhere else. Okay, look at some of the other contracts. Wesley Matthews is making $3.6 million. That's an incredible bargain. Brian Windhorst was on last week on Lakers Talk. I asked him, I said, what's the contract that, what's the player that came in that you thought was the best offseason move for the Lakers? He said Wesley Matthews. So that kind of threw me off. But that kind of shows you that $3.6 million, there's a lot of value to that Wesley Matthews contract. Keep going down the list. KCP, 3 years, $40 million. He's 26 years old. So if you look at the Lakers contracts compared to what other teams are paying for some of their other guys, the Lakers have really good contracts on this roster. Somebody wanted me to talk about the Luke Kennard contract. Luke Kennard got 4 years, $64 million for the Clippers. Marcus Morris got 4 years, $64 million with the Clippers. I don't know about you guys. Those don't sound like good contracts. I mean, we got Markieff Morris for the league minimum, and somebody want to explain to me how their games are $62 million difference. I mean, I'm just saying, like, kind of putting that into perspective, it's a big difference, right? Or $50 million difference, or whatever the case is. So I think a lot of the contracts with the Lakers right now, I think, are set up for the present and they're set up for the future. That's what it seems like. So when I kind of put these contracts in a bow, and we talked about Kuz's contracts, there's no contract on the Lakers that you're looking at and you're saying that's a bad contract. That one's going to hurt the team. That's going to be tough to move down the road. I don't see it. Deng is still getting paid, by the way. Luol Deng is still getting that every month. Don't you forget Luol Deng is still getting paid. Quick shout out. Power Pro Plumbing, Heating and Air. Thank you for their partnership. They are, man, we just got a really good relationship with that company, and they're kind of following a lot of what we do. So I greatly appreciate them being a part of the show. A lot of the reason why we're able to do this social show is because companies like Power Pro. So keep them in mind. If you're local out here in Southern California, you ever need their service, don't think about another service. They can help you. They can take care of everything. Power Pro Plumbing, Heating and Air. So just make sure to keep them in mind. Thank you to their partnership. By the way, bigger Laker fans than anybody on the chat room. You guys think you're Laker fans? You see them. That's some real Laker fans out there. Okay. Let me read off. Let's see. This year. Seems like everybody still wants me to play Trevor Lane. Okay. All right. Still don't understand that. By the way, like I said this before, you guys are lucky we're in the middle of a quarantine right now, because if not, I'd be at Echo Park outside on the outdoor hoops. I'd be running all of you guys. I'd be inviting everybody to come, crossing over people left and right. Somebody's asking for dinner. What's for dinner? Not sure yet. I was very close to sending what I was eating for dinner on Friday night. I should have. But next time, when it's a good meal, I'll put it out there. All right, what do we got next? Competing for minutes. Okay, let's move on to competing for minutes. So I asked Coach this during the quick Zoom call that we had earlier today. Asked Coach about what's that competition like during practice. You got 11 guys, 12 guys that are all competing for playoff spots for minutes. And to be honest with you, he said it's like the best problem to have. These guys are really all competing against each other internally for an opportunity to show that during a game that they're ready to go. Talen Horton-Tucker wasn't even part of the conversation 2 weeks ago. Now you got guys like Michael Thompson saying this should be the first guard off the bench. I mean, that's a pretty damn bold statement for a player that we weren't talking about that much before. Kuzma's obviously fighting for PT. Alex Caruso is going to be the feistiest guy that you're going to have on your team, and he'll die for every loose ball and do whatever he needs to do. Montrezl Harrell is going to try to prove that you give me minutes, I'm going to deliver. KCP, and go down the list of all these players that are competing for legitimate minutes. I think this is going to be a kind of a great part of the storyline this upcoming season for the Lakers. So I think that's going to be fantastic. By the way, we still don't know who the starters are going to be. Somebody tried to ask Coach that earlier today, and Coach was pretty much like, yeah, I'll tell you tomorrow about a half hour before the game starts. I'll let you know. Okay? Don't call me. I'll call you. I mean, that was pretty much Coach had at practice today. So we still know. I do have a feeling that Schroeder's gonna be a part of the starting lineup. A couple fist pumps, right? Got you. So I do have a feeling that Schroeder may be a part of the starting lineup, but we don't know 100% yet. Someone says they're tuning in from Power Pro Plumbing's head office. Thank you for tuning in from there. But I do have a feeling Dennis Schroeder will start. All right, let's do this. We've got a pretty good amount. Let's answer some of your guys' questions. What kind of questions do you guys have out there? What kind of questions you guys have? Let me know what kind of questions you have. It's game time, Laker fans. Put it this way. It's game time, guys. We got a game coming up tomorrow. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm not going to throw the headband on? Wait, are you crazy? We got a Laker fan we got a Laker game coming tomorrow. I mean, the season's about to start. Well, I'm not going to throw a Laker headband on. Come on, guys. What questions do you guys have? Starters. Okay, rest. Let's see what we got here. Will THT score 10 tomorrow? I'll tell you what. You know what we got to have tomorrow? We got to have Talen Horton-Tucker get some legitimate minutes tomorrow. We got to have Talen Horton-Tucker get some legit. I'm actually curious if the Lakers, how much they play Talen Horton-Tucker over these next couple of weeks. I really am. If he gets opportunities and he starts kind of delivering and taking advantage of those minutes, and he could be effective with LeBron and Anthony Davis on the floor, you might see some Talen Horton-Tucker this year. But we'll see. They got a lot of guys that they're trying to figure out. Would you start Trez and Kuzma with AD and LeBron? I would not. I think Montrezl Harrell 100% is going to come off the bench. I think he'll probably come in a lot of times for Marc Gasol. And if there's times that they need more size, maybe AD and Montrezl Harrell will play together. I think that'd be a great combination that we could watch. But I don't think Montrezl will start. And I don't think Kuz will start too. Even though we saw Kuz in some preseason games starting, I don't think he'll start. I mean, if the Lakers really, really want to go big, they could put Kuz at the 2. But I don't think Kuz will be starting. Tony, could the Clippers stay in the locker room during the ring ceremony? Why would they do that? It's the closest they've ever got to a championship. Why would they stay in the locker room? That's jacked up, Al. That's jacked up. Let's keep going here. Who will get the least minutes? Me. I'll definitely get the least minutes. All right. Somebody called me Sliwa Mozgov. It's not a bad comp. It's not a bad comp. All right. See what else we got here. Do you think we're lacking depth at the 5? All right, that's Tony Bellew right there on Periscope. I think that's the biggest weakness that the Lakers have. So to answer that question, I think the size, right? Last year you had JaVale and Dwight. At any time you had a big that was a consistent shot blocker, roll to the basket threat, a lob threat. That's gone for the Lakers. Now they have other assets, but that's a question mark. That's a fair question mark. And I don't really have the answer for it. I will tell you that if it becomes an issue, you got between now and the trade deadline and the buyout market to address it. So I think the Lakers, if their weakest spot is the backup center, you're probably in pretty good shape. So I think the Lakers are in good shape, but that's a fair question to ask. All right, get a couple more of these. My starting lineup for tomorrow, I think it's going to end up being, Dennis Schroeder, KCP, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Marc Gasol. I already told you guys before I wanted Dennis Schroeder to come off the bench, but I don't think he's going to come off the bench. All right, a couple more of these. Would ESPN overreact if we lose tomorrow? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yes, I do think they would overreact. I definitely think they would overreact. Is Gasol out of shape? Gasol will be fine, guys. Laker fans, Gasol will be fine. Give the dude some time. All right, couple more here, and then we're getting the hell out of here. Calling it a day. What's your favorite lineup? All right, my favorite lineup for the Lakers, I would go Schroeder, KCP, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Montrezl Harrell. I think that would be my 5 that I think, I know you could say matchups and things like that, but I wouldn't mind seeing Montrezl play a little bit more of the 4 at times when he's in with AD, and AD can play the 5. And I think Dennis Schroeder would be a key asset. So I think that'd be a fun team to watch during the season, and we'll see how much we get those opportunities. That could be actually the closing 5 for the Lakers a lot of the times. All right. Sydney, Australia, thank you for being a part of the show. I'm going to read one more here. Maybe 2 if I find another good one. All right, did that. Let's do one more. One more here. Come on, Laker fans. Give me one good one. I got Dennis has to start. You're probably going to. James says, do you hate Jerry West now? I do not. I really don't. He's one of the greatest executives to ever live. I think he's, a big, big part of Lakers championships in the past. So, it's unfortunate, whatever's going on, but no, I don't hate him. Okay, final one. I got one more. Can Talen Horton-Tucker guard Kawhi Leonard? Tell you what, I'd love to see it. He's 6'4", he weighs 235. He's got a wingspan of 7 feet or something along those lines. You want him to get those opportunities to kind of figure things out and see what he could do against the top competition. So, Lake fans, thank you. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Always appreciate it. It all starts tomorrow. Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. So, a couple quick plugs here. The pregame show will start at 5 p.m. So Lakers and the Clippers will go pregame at 5. Tip-off's going to be at 7. Start tuning in tomorrow, 5 a.m. It will be Keyshawn, Jay, Will, Zubin, and Travis. And we'll kind of get a lot of that Laker conversation going. If you missed any part of Lakers Talk tonight, go back. Take a listen to that Kuzma interview. Kuzma was nice enough to join the show, and that was a great one-on-one conversation on his 3-year, $40 million deal and what he's expecting to accomplish this upcoming year. So thank you for being a part of the show. We'll get back at you tomorrow. So tomorrow, look, we'll do post-game show, and then I'll come back on and we'll do some of the social stuff. So thank you for being part of the show. Have a good rest of your night. Lakers taking care of business tomorrow. They'll go get their championship ring. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, Laker fans.